back.
Oh, you're good. Well, hello, Ian.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh my God.
And a happy new year to you all.
Yes, the first
Here it
episode
is,
of the new
folks.
year.
It's blank as a fart 2025. We're hoping everyone had a good holiday season and maybe took some time to catch up on all our previous episodes if you hadn't done so already, because we're taking a big step in a new direction here. How you doing, Ian?
Are we taking a big step?
I mean, not necessarily. We've done David Lynch TV, we've done David Lynch film, and now we get the hybrid of the two. So maybe this is just
Do
a
we?
continuing.
Do we? I would argue. Anyway, what's up, Gabe? Yeah, things are good. It's the new year, 2025, man. Can I just tap out on this one? I mean, the world's going to
Right,
shit.
yeah. What's the meme I saw the other day? I've done the 14-day trial and I'd like to return it, please.
Yeah. It's like, what? I can only hope that there's some great fucking video games on the horizon because we're going to have to strap in. This year's going to be rough.
I know of at least one or two good concerts on the horizon, so there are those to look forward to as well.
There you go. Don't you have Weird Al coming up?
There is Weird Al coming up this year, back on like the big tour with like the costumes and the videos and all that fun stuff. And then the one I think that we're mutually excited about, which is of course Nine Inch Nails.
And a new album.
And a new album.
And the Tron
I don't know if it's...
And the Tron soundtrack.
Yeah, are those two like the same, one and the same, or do we have...
We don't know, do we?
New Nine Inch Nails and Disney Nine Inch Nails?
We don't know.
We don't know. We just know that the tour is happening for sure. Outside of that, everything is speculation based on hearsay and some little crumbs that Trent laid out in interviews.
Yeah.
But oh my, that could be a whole other podcast for us, couldn't it?
I suppose it could be. Maybe that's what we should look
album
into.
Reviews?
Man,
yeah,
I don't have a music podcast.
Ooh.
That'd be interesting.
Germ of an idea there.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's
all right.
Yeah, neither here nor there.
Yeah,
we got to get through this first.
Real quick, a couple of things. I do want to shout out a happy birthday to my friend Minna, who I believe is a listener of the show. Not sure how caught up she is, but today is her actual birthday. So happy birthday, Minna. Hope you had a great day and hope you enjoy the episode.
I would like to shout out my friend Nick Vaughn. You might have met him, maybe not.
Yeah, I remember Nick. I think we've worked on a project together.
He's caught a couple episodes just kind of in the background, and we had a fun conversation about them a few days ago. He's watched the entire series, and he really likes it, and he thought our conversation was a lot of fun. So shout out to Nick if he's listening.
Excellent. Thanks, Nick. Great to have you on board. Yeah, so... What's give me your first impression of our return. So
it's on Showtime, baby.
Yeah,
we get some titties.
Prestige Television. We get titties.
Ass. Let's go.
And blood.
Prestige Television.
I forgot to look up the specific date. Give me a moment to check this. But I know it was 2017. That
I remember when it was
premiered.
Coming out, but obviously I didn't.
I want to say it was like February or March or something along those lines. But like some of the stuff that we do in post show, we're not going to be doing here because the creative team is pretty universal across every episode. It's Lynch and Frost writing and Lynch directing. We do see Dwayne Dunham's name early in the credits on the editing team, so that's another throwback behind the scenes. Episode guide's always on top. Why am I always forgetting that? Here we go. Part 1 premiered on May 21st, 2017. Which was about 26 years after the original series went off the air. Just a little shy of that.
Almost made the
I
25.
think,
Almost.
yeah. Yeah, there were some delays in production. I think we touched base on that about how Lynch kind of balked for a little bit when they cut the budget in half, and there was a little bit of a standoff, and eventually the creative team got their way. So kudos to that. We do have a little bit of discussion on that later on. I took some notes on some special features, but we'll hit that in post show. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, think of the story as happening in 2016 for what we're doing here, or for what the show is doing.
Sure. And it
Excuse
happened.
me.
I mean, it was shot in 2016, so
It was, yeah, 2015 as well.
So there you go. It made it.
Uh, yeah, we'll get to some of that also later on. So yeah, I mean, she did see him again in 25 years, although we didn't see her seeing him,
Right.
but you know,
That's how it happens, I guess.
it
Sometimes.
is how it happens. Anyway, ready to dig in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we begin with a fast moving shot of the zigzag floor pattern in the red room, eventually panning our way up to those infamous drapes. They look a lot more lush now, don't they?
They do.
This leads us directly to a scene from the final episode of the original series, where Laura Palmer, in the bizarre reverse speak fashion, promises to see Agent Cooper again in 25 years.
Woot.
Prophecy fulfilled. The scene quickly fades to black, and we find ourselves traversing through a pale mist, perhaps the haze of memory. We start to see some familiar landmarks: the forest of the fir trees, the sawmill, the hallways of the high school, all backed
Drone
by a low and
footage is what we see,
unsettling.
Gabe. We see drone footage.
Oh, yeah. We've got lots of
we notice
establishing drone shots,
we
don't
start
we?
noticing the up in production value here.
Oh, man. It really, really works for these establishing shots. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that original series was all stock footage, but we get some really gorgeous introductions to the scenes, and they're really part of what sticks out for me. Anyway. Um, Anyhow, yeah, there's a low and unsettling score underneath all of this footage, some of which is from the original series. Eventually, the camera comes to rest on the homecoming queen photo of Laura Palmer in the trophy case.
Okay. Before we go any further,
Hmm.
part of me still like I don't think I've ever really brought it up, but like, why is her photo in the trophy case? Like, that's just a thing, right? It's like there's no real rhyme or reason that's there, right?
I've known,
Is she a trophy?
like,
Is that what it is?
I've known high schools to have the practice where, like, that year's uh, homecoming queen gets a photo in the trophy case, and the photo is changed out every year.
I like to ask Lynch that same question.
I'm sure it's probably a common trope in the 50s when the homecoming queen was of much higher stature in the local community.
Maybe.
I mean, small town life like that has largely died out. It is pretty much just like a storytelling trope in movie and TV and period pieces nowadays. So, but yeah, I think it's just to emphasize that this is like one of those towns where there's only one high school and homecoming queen is still something important to the whole community. I wouldn't say that this picture's in the case still 25 years later, if that's what we're getting at right now. But anyway, that photo is where the familiar theme begins and leads us into the opening credits.
And then my follow-up question for that is, Gabe, as you watching this, the 26 years later, did you cream your shorts when the music and the credits started, or was there a fear that he would go a different direction?
That's not an accurate term, no. I absolutely got goosebumps when the theme kicked in. 100%. It gave me the shivers. I had actually flown out to Colorado to watch it with Barry. along with the finale of this series. So it was meaningful. It was a meaningful moment.
I could just hear a collective fan
And
wave all across the nerdverse for this. Just like
oh
let out a
well, yeah.
collective sigh. It's like, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that I'm into. There's a lot of moments like that in Doctor Who, uh, where I like enjoy going and watching reactions and shit like that on YouTube. But anyway, we're already losing track in the opening credits. After they finish rolling over more imagery of the zigzag floor and the red drapes, over that beloved Angelo Badalamenti score, we switch to a black and white shot of a lush carpet. Pan up. Oh, you must be loving this, the opening scene being in black and white.
I thought, oh, something different, but
No,
I was
yeah,
fine.
we're just.
I mean, it wasn't. It's like, oh, that's different. It's new, but I wasn't really. It's fine.
You didn't,
I
and it didn't add to your enjoyment.
no.
You're generally a proponent of the old BMW.
I do love the black and white,
Right.
but I was like, this is just like kind of like a. It's just letting us know that this is like not real, or it's like a dream, or it's somewhere else. Obviously, it's somewhere else, but
Mhm.
it's fine. It's kind of funny.
It's fun.
There's
a lot more of that.
I mean, it bookends this episode, so kind of. So
Kind of. Pan up to the face of the giant, who is dressed in a tuxedo and seated in a large overstuffed chair. He calls out Agent Cooper's name, and we get to see Cooper is also in the same room, seated across from the giant in a similar chair.
quite a bit older.
Yes, 25 years older, in fact. Although he looks better than he did with like the aged makeup in the original series. Credit to Kyle MacLachlan for taking care of himself. The giant tells Cooper to listen to the sounds, and the two look over at an ancient phonograph which emits odd scratching noises. The giant ominously tells Cooper, "It is in our house now," and implies that no more can be said out loud at the moment, but he does leave Cooper with some important, albeit cryptic, information. And I quote, "Remember 430. Richard and Linda. Two birds with one stone." After Cooper tells the giant that he understands, the giant makes one last statement. "You are far away." Giant is in reverse speak here, naturally. I don't think this is the Red Room anymore, but who knows what part of the lodge this is, or, I have no theories here as to where Cooper is or how he's gotten to
I
this
guess what I
point.
still don't understand is why Cooper doesn't. He's in the Black Lodge, but doesn't speak backwards.
Maybe if we heard it from the Giants' point of view, Cooper would be speaking backwards and he would be speaking forwards.
Maybe
It's kind of how I interpret it. Is this just like speaking through like water?
Okay.
So that's just kind of an idea I had. Cooper then kind of just blinks out of existence from the room as if he were just a projection that were suddenly cut off. And we fade to black. And now it's daytime in the forest. We get a wide establishing shot of a mobile homestead setup, which appears to be well lived in. A flatbed truck with a cherry red cab backs down the drive, and the occupant of the mobile home emerges. It's Dr. Jacoby. He's dressed in ratty overalls, but he's still sporting those same red and blue lens spectacles.
But he's wearing old people glasses over them, like those visor things, and then he takes them off to reveal the. It's like, oh my, you gotta be kidding me.
They kind of look like welder protective glasses to me. I'm not sure if we come back to those or not. There's a lot about this series I don't remember because there's a lot of odd details involved. Um, he greets the driver and goes to help him unload the large boxes he's delivering to him, which contain several shovels. The driver offers to help, but the doctor tells him that he prefers to work alone. All of this dialogue is mixed very low, as if it's like from camera distance. It kind of gives you the impression that we're just spying on them here. It's a lot more voyeuristic than like your usual television show in that regard, I
Or
feel.
shot shitty like an independent film. One of the two. You can take your pick. I've shot a lot of movies where you, as a kid, as a teenager, where you shoot a dialogue scene from a distance and you just go with that dialogue.
Yes, but as you've already established, we've got a way better budget on this.
I mean,
So
okay, hold on a second. Now, I did say that, but then when I was, and I actually had that noted early on in my like notes where I was like, Twin Peaks with the better budget. But then as I was watching this, I was like, the bit better. I shouldn't say better budget. I would say today production standards, but the budget, I gotta question whether it was really that high. Honestly, like
well,
I gotta.
you're only seeing the first hour.
Oh, I know, but it's true, sure. But a lot of the actors are just kind of no names. You've never seen or heard of them before. I gotta think that like they probably did.
That's not uncommon for Lynch work.
Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of randomy. Some in yes and no. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think this is like it is a higher budget probably, but then when you think about
Than the
like
original series. I
sure,
mean,
but like if you were to
strictly
take
based on inflation.
but if you
But
take
yeah,
on inflation and all that kind of stuff, and then like production quality is better, but I don't know if it was really that high of a budget, incomparable to some of the other shows
compared to like
that were going on at the time.
like Game of Thrones, for example,
Well, sure, but even some of the
6 million
other
an episode or something.
some of the other lower stuff, I think would probably be.
Well, we'll get to some other stuff later.
I'm sure,
We'll see.
but I'm sure a lot of people like just want to work with Lynch and are willing to take a cut too. So
Oh, absolutely. But here's one advantage of a bigger budget: location, location, location. At least for some establishing shots. Because now we're making our way to New York City, the Big Apple. More drone stuff, but it looks beautiful. We get a close in on a large brick building. As we get a look from the inside, presumably on a floor near the top, the building appears to have a big round open hole in the brick wall, which is surrounded on the inside by a large cube made of thick, transparent glass. A young man with close cropped hair and a button up shirt, seated on a small couch across the room, stares blankly at the glass cube, which is elevated on a metal frame and surrounded by floodlights and cameras and hard drives. An alarm sounds, and the man gets up to place a fresh SD card in one of the cameras, taking the full card and filing it away in a large cabinet along with many, many others. He then returns to the couch and resumes his silent vigil. Over an intercom, he hears a single word, delivery, and he exits through the door in the far corner, keying in a code to do so. In an adjacent lobby, a humorless security guard with cauliflower ears, who looks an awful lot like UFC legend Michael Bisping, keeps a close eye on a young woman who has shown up to deliver coffee. Do you want to go over casting here real quick?
a bunch of people that can't act.
Yeah, I'd say Madeline Zima's okay. So yeah, it is Michael Bisping, who is famous for being the first British-born fighter to headline a UFC show.
Cool.
Tracy here is played by Madeline Zima, who was in The Nanny as a teen, and later on was also in another Showtime series with David Duchovny, Californication.
Did she get naked in that one?
Yes, she does.
There you go.
There you go. Thanks, Madeline.
No, I mean just actors that are willing to get naked was obviously the criteria for
Oh,
this.
that's for Showtime. No, for Showtime in general. The observer emerges from his room and greets the young woman, calling her Tracy. Tracy has actually brought two coffees, her treat, and she's hoping to join him. Ooh. Unfortunately, whatever that young man is supposed to be staring at in the cube is top secret, and he tells Tracy that no one else is allowed in the room with him, to which the security guard stonily concurs. Tracy does her best to hide her disappointment as the two continue to flirt, with the young man promising to visit her on his way in to his job of staring into space tomorrow.
Yes.
He playfully calls her a bad girl as he catches her
Ooh.
peeking over his shoulder while he
Ooh.
enters the security code to return to his top secret room. After one last apprehensive glance at the security guard, whose expression remains unchanged, Tracy lets herself out via a small and noisy utility elevator. The young man resumes his post on the couch and takes an appreciative swig of his large coffee.
Coffee.
Intrigue.
Yes.
Are you already frustrated with the pace at this point, or were you expecting this?
I
I mean, we
mean,
get very little dialogue here. There's no sound other than the hum of electronics, which is a very constant theme in this and many other works by Lynch.
I guess. I mean, sure. I don't know. I mean, yeah, here, sure. Frustrated here. Like, what? I don't care about this, I guess. I mean, I did start to formulate ideas, I guess, is what my brain was doing really during this whole sequence. Like, what is this about? And then I just started formulating stuff. And then I don't really want to go into it till the next sequence with these group of characters. But I think I was pretty accurate. So maybe I'm totally wrong. But that's basically when I start tapping out, when I'm forced to watch something, I'll start just like, I'm constantly formulating ideas, but I'm just like, what is...
Yeah, naturally.
I think it's funny that like the cameras are weird. They look like these weird, randomly old, dated cameras, but they're running SD cards. It's very kind of funny, silly, antiquated kind of concept.
I think they were only chosen because they resemble eyes.
Yeah, maybe,
like a lot of modern digital cameras don't have, but especially like, we're jumping ahead here because let's save that discussion for later. Now we turn to a familiar locale, the Great Northern Hotel, standing proud in the sunlight at the top of the falls and in glorious high definition. Man, it looks good in this shot. It makes you want to go see it in person, doesn't it?
Maybe someday, Gabe. Have you seen it already?
I have not. I've never been to any of the filming locations.
We should do that sometime. We should
get
in the old
could be
Toyota,
a good capper.
Get in the Gambler and head up.
Yeah, could be a good capper to the series. We go inside to see the office of one Benjamin Horn, who is being greeted by his new executive assistant, Beverly, played by series newcomer Ashley Judd.
Who's looking pretty good.
Looks fantastic.
How
Love me some Ashley Judd. Early to mid 50s would be my guess.
Got to be something like that.
Yeah. Another person who takes very good care of themselves. And who can afford to.
True that.
Who can afford to have a whole team of people help her with her self-care. Let's put it that way. The two have a brief discussion about a partial reimbursement for a regular customer due to some sort of skunk incident. I kind of wonder how much of this conversation was improv. It feels very natural and very genuine. Unlike some of the stuff that we saw in the original series, which, felt written and felt read. But this feels...
It also feels like Ben, and more of this kind of plays out, I think, but he does feel like very much a changed person in this.
Other than going back to smoking cigars.
Well, that's fine, but like his attitude towards things, and he seems to change.
Has a smaller, less ostentatious office.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, although I think we saw that room in earlier parts of this. We did
We did,
when
but
they were still using the interior of that building.
he just seems
The big office was the set.
like his he just he doesn't seem like a big idea man anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe that
no,
changes, but right here it's very like he seems
he's
very
just
okay with
he's
his place in the world.
yeah. When we saw early Ben Horn 25 years ago was a very ambitious and very power hungry man, up until a certain point. He did have like a reformation late in that series. I mean, we never really saw the end result of that because of the weird direction they took with him and the Hayward family, which, spoiler alert, we never circle back on here.
He just became a simpleton.
You
Hit
know,
his
but
head
I
and just became
agree.
dumb.
I wouldn't say dumb, I would say content.
Hmm.
And as we
Are
will
you saying that they
establish
lobotomized
later,
him, basically?
I'm saying that he might have had other struggles that may have sapped some of the will out of him
Mm-hmm.
that we may see later on.
Well, I mean, right in the next sequence of scenarios, he's not interested in food.
Specifically because of the food. We'll get to yeah. Yeah. Anyway, um, Beverly and Benjamin's discussion is interrupted by the boisterous arrival of Ben's beloved brother Jerry. Sorry for the alliteration there. I just finished playing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy again. Ian gets that one. We'll see how many of our viewers slash listeners do. Great game. I highly recommend it. Naturally, in one hand, Jerry bears a plate with a large slab of banana bread and jam. After hastily introducing the two, Ben excuses Beverly back to her work so the two brothers can catch up. While Ben's aesthetic has remained largely unchanged over the intervening years, he's a well dressed, cigar smoking gentleman. Jerry seems to have gone granola, as it were, dressed like he's on his way to a late fall hike or a Grateful Dead concert. However, his personality doesn't seem to have changed much as he instantly steers the conversation about Beverly in a lewd direction. But after Ben offers an indignant rebuttal, the two move on to talk of their newest business, which Jerry is partaking of as they speak. That's right. The banana bread and the jam are both infused, if you get my drift, with a now legal secret ingredient. Legal in Washington State, anyway, and Oregon State, where we are here recording.
Technically, we're recording in Washington. Yes.
Well, half and half.
Isn't it legal also in Colorado?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Where a lot of my family resides.
God, no, it makes
Hello,
sense.
family.
It makes so much sense now. No, just
It was actually legal there first.
exactly.
Yeah. My mom tried to use that to lure me to
Come home.
move back. Yeah. I waited it out. It just took another year. It was fine. As Ben scoffs at his younger brother's embrace of the new industry, Jerry cheerfully points out that their revenue from this new venture is triple that of the hotel business. To which Ben can only retort, "Is that mother's hat?"
They seem very at each other now. They used to be such a unit. Like they used to be so much more kind of jovial and
Sometimes.
friend. I would say mostly, Gabe. I would say mostly. Having seen all those
That's fair.
episodes
That's
on
fair.
top of each other, and then this one, it seemed very like, why are they? Did something happen? Probably never going to get into it, but they just seem a little more at each other now than they ever did.
Yeah, Ben seemed a little less tolerant of Jerry here.
Yes.
He didn't seem to be willing to indulge him in his.
Maybe he's jealous because
Maybe a little bit.
This is mostly Jerry's idea, and he's succeeding way more than poor Ben. I don't know.
And we don't establish like why Ben is reluctant to partake and Jerry is not. Like, where is this divide? Does Ben feel he needs his wits about him serving as a hotelier? Who knows? I don't know that we dig into that a little deeper, but
And then yeah,
this
Jerry's
isn't the
like
last.
Jerry's just straight up hippie, man. He's just like straight. He's like goofy dressed and like he used to be a little more controlled, but yeah, he's just.
I
And he
mean,
looks so
he
much
was
older. He used to be like the younger brother. He's the younger brother, right?
the beard adds a lot of years
Man,
to
he
him.
looks
Yeah,
fucking worn.
yeah. Well, consider that Richard Beymer, who plays Benjamin Horn, I think was 78 or 79 when those scenes were filmed, versus David Patrick Kelly, who was in his late 60s.
Okay.
So, yeah, take that for what you will. I go back to our conversation about Richard Beymer and his ayahuasca trip in the Amazon. That's a wild story. I'd love to go back and revisit that sometime. Maybe we should start a GoFundMe so we can go try it.
No.
And I 100% laughed out loud at the "Is that mother's hat" line.
Oh, really?
The timing on it was, I felt like the timing on it was really good. And it felt like an older brother jab. Just, yeah, it was good to me. And I'll spoil slightly that the Horn brothers are largely comedic relief in the series, specifically Jerry.
Well, he was always kind of.
But Jerry always was, and like the interactions between the Horn brothers themselves were largely,
but they don't really give
very
Ben,
pure and very positive.
You're saying they don't really give Ben Horn like a kind of like a plot, like a serious plot.
No, he's. I don't. Well, that's saying they give anybody a serious plot in this series.
Oh,
like,
don't tell me that, Gabe.
There's. It's a lot of tangled threads, is all I can say.
Is there more?
And
naked,
not
is there
all
more
of
naked
them.
chicks then? Because like, I'm
I mean,
gonna need something.
but
gonna need something then. Because like, if there's, I mean, there was like at least plot in the first season. Like, there's stuff going on.
There's plot, but it's far more like the threads are all far more spread out.
Melodrama. Yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
All of it. A soap opera.
But like, yeah, some of these threads touch in very small places across the course of the series. Not necessarily like a tight weave.
How many? 22 episodes have we got of this? 21 now?
18.
Oh, 18. Whew.
Yes.
All right.
But they're all a full hour or more. But they're full of gorgeous establishing shots like this one, framed by some beautifully lit trees. It's the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department. Our gal Lucy continues to hold down the fort at the reception desk. She looks fantastic too. She's approached by a man asking to see Sheriff Truman, to which she responds with a puzzling question: which one? The man appears to be as confused as we, the audience, are, unsure of how to answer, although Lucy insists that it could make a difference, as one is sick and one is fishing. Ultimately defeated by Lucy's lack of helpfulness and somewhat spacey attitude, God bless her, the man, who is just selling insurance anyway, leaves in a rush. Lucy puzzled briefly over the card he left behind before we smash cut to a point of view shot of driving in the dark with the headlights on. One of our favorite Lynch tropes. Did you miss Lucy?
I mean,
more comic relief.
I mean, it was not. It's nice. Like, okay. I found it all very kind of nostalgic when all the kind of like Twin Peaks-y stuff actually shows up in Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
But then just instantly frustrated by like, what? What is this? All right, carry on. Punch me in the nuts. Let's go.
You have to learn to enjoy asking the questions.
Do we? I don't think.
If you want to enjoy the series, yeah, that's kind of a prerequisite. Because you're going to be asking a lot of questions. Some of them get answered. Not all of them.
I think you just like torture, Gabe. I think you just prefer to be tortured. Like
I
I'm
like
less.
mysteries.
I don't think this is a
I like
mystery.
wondering.
I don't think this is a
There,
mystery. I don't think any of this is a mystery. I think this is just some dude just punching you in the nads over and over again. Like there's no real good
that's
mystery.
harsh, dude.
There's no real good mystery here. It's just a lot of like weak ideas strung together, in my opinion. So like, and it's kind of like the original show. I mean, I feel like the original show is a little more cohesive, but if I mean, I haven't seen the other 17 episodes yet, so I have to wait. But it just feels so kind of haphazardly put together.
Incomplete.
Just like I'm just gonna throw shit at the wall and then see where it comes together. I don't know. So I mean, it's kind of fun. It's kind of weird, but
It's like a Jackson Pollock approach to film.
no, it's like me making a weird art film and then my friends watching it being like, "Oh yeah, that's good." But this guy gets credit for it because he somehow made it big in Hollywood. So like he can do it and everyone like jizzes all over it. So this is kind of like a little bit of a am I jealous? Maybe. Am I like annoyed? Sure. It's just like it's kind of that. It's like if someone else made this, no one would be fucking talking about it in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Huh. Okay. That's an interesting take. So you're making the Stephen King argument here, is that his name sells the product and the quality of the product doesn't matter.
I don't think there's quality here. What quality have we seen so far? Like
I mean, I like.
I don't know what quality we've really seen here so far. I guess
I don't know if that's worth indulging a conversation over. We're pretty early on in the episode to go down that road.
that's fine, but this just feels like this just feels like an older episode with higher production value. It just looks a little better. But it's
And I
acted,
think that's part of
the
it.
directing
I
and
think
acting is about the same. The story is going to be weird, but like I think what I appreciate with the original Twin Peaks pilot is that it gets to the plot really fast. Like it gets it because someone's dead and it gets to it. This one like is just like doesn't give a shit and it's just like we're gonna meander through this and you're just gonna fucking eat it up, you fucking nerds, because I'm David Lynch and and it's like he really has no interest in my opinion visiting Twin Peaks because the story doesn't take place there, but really. And then he just kind of throws in nuggets so you guys don't forget that like that's what this was. I don't know. There's
Twin Peaks is a part of the story.
It's a character of the story.
It's
but
the
it's
entry
not,
point of the story. Yeah, that's fair. Like Twin Peaks is a character in the larger tale that he's trying to tell.
I guess what I would
That's
like
a
to
very fair assessment.
I don't know how this story is going to pan out. I don't know where it's going. I want to like it. Very on the fence. I want this to be a thing where like Twin Peaks, like it kind of sets up, which seems kind of more of a subplot to the main plot. I'm not quite sure. There's like multiple plots kind of going on here, but the idea that Twin Peaks is searching for Cooper and that they go in and find Cooper and bring him back. Is that going to happen? Probably not, because that's what I want as a viewer, but that's what I would like to see happen. Like this whole idea that something's missing and like Hawks. I mean, I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but like it's just offering up all this other shit. This is like, are we just going down this road again? Like, cool. Like, haven't we done this? Anyway.
And I feel like he's trying, like he's taking his time reintroducing the audience to the setting. And not just the setting of Twin Peaks itself, but like
but it's
of
retreading.
The overall mood.
Let's move forward. Let's like progress. Let's evolve, fucking Lynch. Like,
I mean, there's plenty of that here too.
No,
there's plenty of introduction to new characters.
That's not what I mean. But they're the same type of characters. Anyway, let's move on with.
Anyway,
we can start destroying. I can start destroying it later.
Yeah. So driving in the dark, headlights on. A harsh, sparse drum track paired with some highly distorted vocals sets a very different tone for this scene. After some research, I've discovered that this is a slowed down version of Muddy Magnolia's cover of American Woman.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They eventually released it on like an EP as the David Lynch remix, but it's just their version at like half or three-quarters speed or something like that
Interesting.
to sound spooky. We see the front of the car, a Mercedes sedan, as it pulls up to an isolated cabin in the woods somewhere. A tan and weathered looking Cooper, sporting a black leather jacket, shaggy hair, a snakeskin shirt, and black irises,
Not just shaggy
emerges
hair,
from the car.
long hair, like shoulder
Oh yeah,
length
it's
hair.
flowing. It's flowing. Yeah.
That's got to be a wig,
Um,
right?
Partly, at least, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty obvious that this is not the Cooper that we saw speaking to the giant earlier. This is the physical Cooper who was possessed by Bob and escaped the Black Lodge. He approaches the cabin, which is guarded by a simple man with a shotgun, who seems pretty simple indeed, as he makes no move to stop Cooper's confident approach toward the door until he's within punching distance. Cooper easily disarms and knocks out the guardsman before entering the cabin. He takes a seat in the main room next to a moonshine swilling old man he refers to as Otis, for he offers a sideways glance at a couple of strange characters in a dark corner of the room. The door guard, nose bloodied, sneaks up behind Cooper and tries to brain him with a shotgun, but Cooper once again lays him out with a single blow without leaving his chair. An older woman, whom Evil Coop calls Beulah, emerges from a back room. He asks Beulah to go get Ray and Daria for him and advises her to get a better person for her front door. Quote, "It's a world of truck drivers," she tells him before she heads to the back room to fetch the pair.
I like to think this is a shot at Leo.
A little bit, yeah. It does seem like a job he'd take for some extra cash,
Well,
doesn't it?
Just the truck drivers are stupid, like Leo.
And I mean, yeah, what kind of place are we assuming this random cabin in the woods is with a hidden back room?
Yeah.
Ray and Daria emerge, looking a little nervous. The two bid farewell to the weirdos in the corner, handing them an envelope before they accompany Cooper on his way out, as he bids farewell to Otis. Mr. C, Otis calls him, as the evil entity piloting Cooper's corporeal body heads out the door. So yeah, a lot of the recaps that I was following during the course of the series also referred to Evil Cooper as Mr. C. So I think that's probably what we'll do from now on during our coverage as well.
To designate,
it'll be a lot easier to distinguish the two.
Mr. C, Mr. J,
Mr. C. Maybe there's a correlation there. Who knows? David Lynch is a fan of a lot of more popular culture than you might realize. I just read a short interview with him where he said that the best concert he ever saw was ZZ Top.
Well, I mean, ZZ Top is pretty awesome. So,
yeah, and but they don't seem like the kind of guys that would put on like I don't necessarily know what year he saw them play, but like I don't feel like they, and you know, admittedly, I wasn't knowledgeable about ZZ Top until they were well into their late 40s, early 50s. I'd have to look up how old they were when Eliminator came out.
Oh, pretty old.
You'd think so. Did we have this conversation about
I have Eliminator, but I also have their first album, Tres Hombres, and I saw the documentary for that. And I mean, those guys were cutting edge back then. Those guys were ahead.
They were, yeah. They were heavy, especially for Texas.
And then Eliminator was kind of a rebranding. I mean, even though it's the same kind of music, it's a little more poppy and has some synthy.
Eliminator was a sellout album.
Sure, but it's still a great album.
Dude, half the band, like, no, 2/3 of the band doesn't even play on that album. At least the singles that they released. Anyway, boy, are we digressing here. We should do a ZZ Top podcast.
We should. At least, or we should at least talk about the first album. The first
Yeah.
Tres Hombres is a fucking awesome.
You know,
album.
I am starting to like the idea of an album listening podcast for us. But anyway, we return to New York. Appears to be the next night. The young observer is once again changing out the SD card of a camera when he hears the sounds of the elevator. Like Pavlov's dog, he reacts, but he seems puzzled when his next signal doesn't come. We don't hear that announcement from the front desk. He boldly exits the room anyway, and he finds Tracy in the lobby by herself. The guard's desk is completely unoccupied. The observer takes a quick peek in the bathroom, which is a terribly Lynchian bathroom, by the way, all brick and exposed plumbing. And very, very long and narrow. Oh, it creeped me out. It was like something out of a Silent Hill game. The observer offers nothing but confusion at the situation. Tracy, however, seems to be pretty eager to take advantage of this opportunity and talks the young man into allowing her into the room with him. He really didn't seem to need all that much convincing. Hey, is he good looking?
I think it was just the guy wasn't there, so like that's what kept him from doing it last time. So.
Yeah, it's taboo, so it's exciting. Tracy is fascinated by the large glass box and is naturally full of questions. The young man tells her what he knows, which isn't much. It's just a job he picked up to make some extra cash during school. The place is owned by some anonymous billionaire. He's not sure what he's looking for in the box, but apparently the guy who he replaced did see something, although he wouldn't tell him what it was. The two get comfy on their little IKEA love seat and stare at the box for a few minutes before sharing a quick kiss. College boy innocently asks Tracy, "Do you want to make out a little?" Things get frantic pretty quick, and it seems like Tracy has always had way more than just making out on her mind, as it's barely a minute before she gets up and strips naked, with College boy quickly following suit. While this is going on, we are constantly cutting to still and silent shots of the cube and the cameras in the room, again with that low electronic hum. As the two begin having sex on the couch, the area within the cube begins to darken until it becomes a nearly opaque black. College boy stops Tracy when he sees a ghostly figure flickering within the darkness in the cube. Tracy glances over her shoulder and gasps as she sees it too. The flickering of the presence grows in intensity as it seems to take notice of the naked pair on the other side of the glass. And Tracy screams in terror as it suddenly thunks loudly against the cube wall. This seems to agitate the being even further, and it completely shatters the cube, rushing the frisky couple and slashing them to bloody bits in a blur of supernatural speed. This scene was super intense.
Okay. Also, something we kind of forgot to mention earlier, and I'm going to kind of say it here. So, in the beginning black and white scene with the giant and Cooper, Cooper's sitting there, he then disappears in this weird kind of effect.
Yeah, I did mention part of that. Like he's a projection.
But it's like not a project. It's like
pieces. the film ran out on the projection.
It doesn't look like that to me. It looks kind of like what's happening here.
Or a transmission.
I don't know. So
like a transmission that cuts out.
It's way slower. This is like way faster. Anyway, that is either totally a part of it or has nothing to do with it. My initial thing was like, this is obviously some kind of trap for something from like a Bob character. That was where I initially went when I first saw it. Like someone's running some kind of experiment trying to trap one of these things, whatever they are.
Mhm.
And then I thought, like, but the dude, the kid, the kid that plays is like really kind of creepy. Like he is a serial killer. Like he is like
He does have like that 1,000-yard stare kind of thing going on, and the real slow
what's that
kind of way
show?
he
What's that
talks.
fucking show on Netflix? The dude that kills women. I don't know. He reminds me of that dude for some reason. And so anyway,
Is that you?
might be you.
Is that you you're talking about?
That might be.
He kind of like the way he talks gave me a Dexter vibe. Yeah,
And he's got like
just
some
very
kind of
slow
slightly
and
dark
measured.
eyes, and he's just very.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, he does give me the creeps, even in general.
So then I started to think like, well, maybe he's bait. And that's at the end of the first one, you know.
Mhm.
And so then in this scene, when the security guard isn't there, I think that's all part of the experiment. That was where my mind was going. So then having the woman there to instigate this thing to draw the creature in or whatever that thing is.
Fuck.
Obviously it worked. And then I was like, it's like slashing them, or is it pecking them like owls? Like, and what is it? Like the face was so weird.
Hard to tell.
So it's just like
It did.
It's like
It seemed kind of like bird-like.
yes.
Like it seemed to almost have a beak or like a very
Yeah.
sharp.
So then it's like flapping.
And it was very thin and like.
But then the whole imagery of over their bodies was like flappy really quickly, and then there's like, is this going at their heads? And then later
Yeah,
on,
what was moving them? Was it the impact or was it the wind or
I
like?
don't know. So it's just like that's kind of where I thought where like that's what that is. So there's like whoever this billionaire person is running this scientist, whatever, is just trying to trap one of these things, catch them, and these poor kids are just bait. So that's where I went. We'll probably obviously it's just a string of something. We'll probably never return to it ever again in the next 17 episodes. So that's good.
I'll let you find out on your own.
I know. But it did make me think like, well, there's something going on because later on we're going to find someone with a hole in their head. So it's like, well, maybe that, yeah, anyway.
So yeah, there's mysteries that piqued your interest here.
I mean, only because I have to watch it, Gabe. I can't not watch it. You'd be like, I could just be like, oh yeah. I could like not watch it and just be like, oh yeah, that happened. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to fake your way through this one.
I probably could. Just read their Wikipedia.
Shit. Do it the lazy way. I don't know. I feel like you might miss out on a lot that way, but that's just me. And now for something completely different. Let's head to Buckhorn, South Dakota, where a woman and her small dog make their way down the hallway of a large apartment building. The dog is drawn to her neighbor's door, seemingly by an interesting smell, which the woman herself finds instantly disagreeable. She knocks on the door and calls after the occupant, who is apparently named Ruth. Receiving no answer, she heads back into her own apartment and places a telephone call. She awkwardly introduces herself as Marjorie Green, and reports both her missing neighbor and the awful smell coming from the apartment, while struggling to remember her own address. Eventually, the local PD arrive, and there's a little more awkwardness as Marjorie guides them to the door of Ruth Davenport. Marjorie continues to prove to be of no help, as she has difficulty explaining to the officers how they might obtain a key to enter Ruth's apartment. They manage to track down the handyman outside, who is equally incompetent and also clearly apprehensive at the sight of police. Eventually, Marjorie reappears, wondering if Ruth might be out of town, and if she needs to go in and water her plants with the key that Ruth gave her. Waka, waka, waka.
Oh.
Ha ha ha. Oh, the looks on their faces.
She's seen the look on my face. Anyway.
Yeah, it was like this.
Oh boy.
That's my guess. Anyway, something like this.
Oh boy. This is a rough one. This is a whole rough sequence of events.
It gets better eventually.
Rutro?
Upon entering, yes. Uh-oh.
No, Rutro.
Did he Rutro or did he uh-oh?
Never mind. I'm,
I don't
I'm,
think
make,
he
I'm
Rutro,
making.
but
I know, but I'm making a film reference to the
Deadpool or Scooby-Doo?
Scooby Doo
Hmm.
because someone played
Rutro.
Shaggy.
Ah, yes. Rutro.
Anyway,
Now it makes sense. Upon entering the apartment and making their way to the bedroom, the police find the corpse of a woman tucked under the covers up to her chin in bed, and apparently having suffered a gunshot wound to her left eye, which we get a very graphic look at. While the handyman on a comically large phone argues with Harvey over some business deal gone wrong, the crime scene investigators and homicide detectives arrive at Ruth's apartment.
I also find it funny that
They,
like, he's got the biggest cell phone humanly imaginable in the
right?
scene.
It's like
It's like
I remember
a
seeing
tablet.
those and thinking about how dumb they were. It's like, yeah, how do you wrap your hand around that?
I was, and you
You
know what,
cannot.
you know what's funny? Also, Gabe is like when Marjorie was on the phone. It's like, I mean, come on, I get it, but she'd probably be using this. It's 2017. She'd probably be using a cell phone, whatever. So like, whatever. But this is Lynch being Lynch, blah blah blah. But then the next time you
Yeah,
see a phone, this is the giantest fucking cell phone, like tablet
right.
phone, like
The most
Samsung
prehistoric
Galaxy.
possible.
It's
Yeah.
funny. Anyway, it's just funny.
Anyway, the CSI and the detectives remove the blanket to uncover a deeper mystery. Only the head of the corpse is a woman. The rest appears to belong to a rather hairy middle-aged man. Aerial view in motion of the forest at night, coming to rest on a small cabin with brightly lit windows. Within, we find Margaret Lanterman, frail and ill, cradling her beloved log in one arm while she holds the phone in the other. She is awaiting Lucy to connect her to Deputy Chief Hawk. He greets her warmly as he picks up his end of the line, and Margaret tells him that her log has a message for him. Quote, something is missing and you have to find it. It has to do with Special Agent Dale Cooper. The way you will find it has something to do with your heritage. End quote. This is the message from the log. I paraphrased that part. Hawk thanks Margaret and bids her good night. So yeah, this was not a makeup job. This was exactly how Catherine Coulson appeared at this point in her life. Her scenes were the first ones filmed for the show in late 2015, and she died about 3 weeks after completing them.
Oof.
So I think a lot of people underestimate how important she was to Lynch and his concept of the show. I think we touch on that a little bit early in our discussion of the series, where like he talks about the imagery of the log lady coming to him at some point during the filming of Eraserhead, which is a long time for that seed to germinate. So yeah, I think especially in like the mainstream coverage of Twin Peaks, maybe not so much in the big fan circles, but I think the log lady's importance to the series as a whole is largely understated. Not only within the series itself, but within like the whole creative inspiration aspect of it as well. So, R.I.P. Catherine Coulson. We're very glad that she did get to participate and have an important part here in the series. So, this isn't the last that we'll see of her here, but I did want to touch on those little factoids because I believe this episode is dedicated to her in the credits somewhere. So anyway, back to Buckhorn and heading to the police department where Constance, the crime scene tech, played by Jane Addams, is researching the evidence found at Ruth's apartment. She summons Dave, the lead investigator, don't know this actor, and confirms that while they've identified the head as Ruth Davenport, they have no idea who the rest of the body is, as no information has come back on the prints that they've pulled from it. However, they found other prints in the apartment, which did yield a match. They belong to Bill Hastings, a local high school principal. Rutro.
Hmm. I think it's funny just looking at the uh, computer graphics for this is pretty silly. It's kind of weird, like not quite
Oh,
Windows.
like,
It's pretty
yeah.
like it's pretty funny.
I mean, it's not exactly like who was it? Solange sending a text in an Excel spreadsheet.
It's just funny because like
But
it's like Lynch really cares little about that kind of shit. Like where like another show
yeah,
would like spend money to like make this look more like
yeah. Just no,
um,
do it in post. Spend
just
as little time as
it's just like
possible on
whatever.
it.
No one cares.
Yeah, clip art is fine. Steve and his no, not Steve. Dave. Where did I get Steve from? Dave and his partner, along with a couple of uniformed officers, head to the Hastings home. His wife Phyllis answers the door, and Bill soon joins her. He's played by another series newcomer in Matthew Lillard. Ruh-roh. Bill and Phyllis greet Dave as a friend, but Dave is unfortunately all business as he immediately places Bill under arrest. Evelyn complains about their imminent dinner plans as they haul Bill away. How very Stepford wife of her. He protests that he's done nothing wrong and asks his wife to call George and tell him what's happened. However, Bill doesn't put up like a struggle or
No,
anything.
yeah.
He's going willingly. He's, not fighting this.
The wife doesn't really seem
Um,
concerned either. She just sits there and watches. She's like,
yeah, she just seems irritated. She's just like, oh, this is an inconvenience. We had plans this evening. What the hell are you
she's
doing?
gonna glare out the door.
Yeah, but she doesn't seem like scared or upset. She just seems annoyed.
I hope they don't find out
Um,
that I set my husband up. No,
hmm.
no, just kidding.
Back at the Twin Peaks Sheriff Station, Hawk has hauled a few boxes of old files into the conference room where
the
he's joined by
old,
Lucy and Andy.
the old conference room.
And this is the real conference room, not the set constructed to look like it.
Oh, nice.
We get to see it with the windows open here, which I
Nice.
think is a nice touch. Hawk is joined by Lucy and Andy wearing a weird fat suit, which I think is unnecessary. I think it's perfectly believable that Andy stayed skinny over the years.
Sure.
They're in the scene mainly for exposition,
Yes.
explaining that Agent Cooper has been missing for over 24 years,
And his
since
son.
before their son Wally was born. And by the way, he was born on the same day as Marlon Brando.
They almost named their son Marlon.
Almost. But they decided on Wally instead. Before they get too distracted, Hawk asks them to retrieve the rest of the files related to Agent Cooper so they can close up shop for the night, and they'll start in on them first thing in the morning with coffee and donuts.
Yeah, baby. Donuts.
Yes. Although we don't get to see any of those two things in this very first hour here.
Nope.
What a shame.
We saw a lot of
Or
coffee, but we
pie.
haven't seen any donuts yet.
That's true. We did see coffee. I forgot about that. Back to the Buckhorn station, bouncing back and forth on police procedural work, where Bill is clearly agitated as he's isolated in the interrogation room. On the other side of the mirror, Dave is joined by Bill Harrison from the state police. Another Bill. Interesting. After a brief summary, the two decide that Dave might have better luck interrogating Hastings due to their personal history. They've been fishing buddies since high school. Dave enters the room and begins the interview with Bill, who is very eager to know exactly what is going on. Dave starts with the easy ones. Do you know Ruth Davenport? Have you ever been to her apartment? Bill responds in the negative, but he's acting a little twitchy and appears to be hiding something.
No,
The two
he
go
knew
over.
her. He knew her.
Yeah. I mean,
She's the librarian.
oh yeah, not well. The librarian.
Right, but
Matthew
still,
Lillard is fucking brilliant here. I
I mean,
love his work in this scene.
he's fine.
He's
Yes.
he's very good at being bad at lying
Yes.
or hiding truth. Not necessarily lying, but hiding
I
truth.
think the difficult thing here is like there's a lot of just like subpar unknown actors that aren't very good. I'm not saying that
Well, one of them is
he's
a good
not. I'm not
actor.
saying that he's not a good actor. He's been in a lot of things. He's obviously a good actor, but it's just like when you watch someone act so much better than all these like other actors, it's kind of anyway.
It's like watching Wonder Woman 84 all over again, right?
Yeah, sure. It's a
God
lot
bless
of
you,
it.
Kristen Wiig. Love you.
Jeez.
Oh, she was so awesome in that movie compared to everybody else around her, is what I'm saying.
Oh, really? I can't stand Kristen Wiig. I thought she was awful.
Really?
Oh yeah, I can't stand her.
Weird that we're on opposite sides of that.
Really?
Yeah, I adore her.
We're
I
on
think
opposite.
she's awesome.
We're not on opposite sides of this. Touche.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yin and wrong. Anyway, uh,
I don't know about that.
the two go over Bill's schedule for the last few days, with Dave pointing out a glaring inconsistency. Bill grows increasingly nervous as he struggles to plug the holes in his story, eventually asking to speak to George, who is his attorney. Dave eventually lets him know the score, that Ruth is dead and Bill's prints are all over her place, before guiding him to his holding cell. Bill asks Dave to let him speak to his wife. Dave offers to see what he can do before he and the rest of the boys head back to Bill's house to serve a search warrant. Phyllis again complains about the disruption to their dinner plans before she reluctantly fetches the key to Bill's car so the investigators can search there as well. Dave and Harrison search the trunk with Dave's flashlight blinking on and off repeatedly, which he explains with the offhand comment, "My flashlight's broke." Uh, Something that I read on some coverage of this is that this is a parallel to the light blinking on and off the first time that Cooper examined Laura's body.
Hmm.
Not sure if that's intentional or not, but it seems logical. Harrison removes the cooler from the trunk, and underneath it, the two discover what appears to be a chunk of human flesh.
Delicious.
Yum, yum. Cut to the giant, staring forlornly at the phonograph as it briefly plays the scratching noises again, before the closing credits roll with the usual Lynch Frost banner with the noisy electric transformer at the end.
And a slow push into the black hole.
Into the black hole of the unknown. So yeah, I'm getting the impression that you weren't all that impressed by this first hour here.
Not very much, no.
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 What strengths did you see? Let's talk positives for a little bit, at least. What did you see that you liked?
um,
Oh, you were taking way too long to answer this question, Ian. Come
I don't
on.
think there's anything I really liked. It's fun to kind of revisit some of the old stuff, but as far as like anything I really like thought stood out, or now that I'm framing it in 2017, uh, what was around and what I was watching then, it's just like, yeah, I don't. This doesn't hit for me so far. Hopefully it
All right.
does, but it just feels like it even feels more like an independent student film project than ever before. Anyway.
You're starting to take
Oh,
Tarantino's view of Lynch.
there was nudity.
There was nudity. I
I'll
know
take
that's
it.
a highlight for you.
I'll take it.
Um,
I don't know. What is Tarantino's view on it? Do you have
we
a view
read
on
that
it?
quote from him
Oh,
where he
that's right.
talked about how
Um, I like some of Lynch's stuff. I just don't think Lynch can do long form. I think he has ideas that are better suited for film that he has to get to and execute quickly before they burn out, and still kind of circling these same ideas in a third season hours later, even though maybe some of it all wasn't his in those other 2 seasons. It's just like, it's kind of tiring. I mean, we'll see where it goes. Obviously, I'm not going to tap out, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's rough. It's just it only exists because of David Lynch, and I don't know if it's very good David Lynch, in my opinion. So I'm surprised that it has. I did look at Rotten Tomatoes. It's got like a fucking 94%. It's like, dude, people sucking some dick there, dude. Like, just blowing on the auteur that is David Lynch.
You think that's fan bombing in the other direction, huh?
No, that's actually critic. I mean, both, I guess, fans and critics. It's like, wow, okay, all right. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
You might be in the minority here, Ian.
Well, I don't think I'm in the minority. I think it's a minority that follows Twin Peaks, and in the majority, of that group, like this. So
yeah, the majority of that group doesn't hate the source material.
Right.
Yes,
and I'm not in that group. I think if you were to,
are now.
No, I'm in the source material, but I was never I was never like a fan of.
I mean, I would argue that a lot of people that are in hardcore fandom of it were not people who watched it during the original run either. They were people who discovered it based on reruns or based on VHSs that they found at garage sales or secondhand shops or what have you. And that's something that they kind of discuss in a little bit of the supplemental material as well.
But I could just have seen this just as easily have been shot in the same way. In fact, I would almost have appreciated it if it was shot exactly the same way as the original series and not brought into like today's format. Like
not done on digital, you mean?
Just just kind of that same color palette, the same, it just would have felt more at home. It still felt very much like it like really does feel like an extension of those seasons. It's just brought into our today's production standards, and I don't know, man. I'm here. I'm gonna see where it goes. Maybe it'll do something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Only you ultimately know where it goes, so I don't know.
I mean, not only me, but I mean, between the two of us, yes.
I'm not talking to anyone else that's gonna like shade Anyway. So yeah, I'm very lukewarm on it right now.
What theory do you have on how the threads from these different locations connect?
Well, I feel like the city thing, I think they're trying to catch whatever kind of creature that Bob is, whatever, or the owls or whatever.
So a Black Lodge spirit.
Right. There's other people that know they exist, and someone else is trying to catch one or learn about it to a higher degree.
Okay.
So however that data knowledge goes into whatever that person's doing, who knows? Maybe this is how we get Cooper to, if in my grand scheme, if somehow we find a way to get Cooper back, you bring other Cooper to that site and pull him back through. That's where I think that, in my head, plot device wise, that's what I could see in my head doing. The thing in what is it? Blueford?
Buckhorn.
Ruth's
head, somebody else's corpse.
I gotta think that's gotta be tied to Mr. C at this point somehow. Like maybe that's, I don't know, something there. Like obviously that's Bob, and Bob's doing weird shit. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. So that's gonna cause the Twin Peaks dudes. I can't think of his name. White-haired, the deputy.
Oh, Hawk.
Hawk. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, does he have a big expanded role in this?
I wouldn't say expanded. No.
No, because Truman's not in this, right? Technically.
Michael Ontkean did not return for the series. No.
So. When they talk about Sheriff Truman's, is there like him supposedly sick, dying Truman, and then there's like his son or something. Like, are you not going to tell me that?
Something like that.
Something like that. And they're both
I don't
sheriffs.
necessarily want to give away too much.
All right.
But
That's what I took it as.
it's
like,
not like, yeah, it's not like Clones or an evil Sheriff Truman
no,
came
but
out of the Black Lodge or
I
anything
took it
like
as
that.
like our Truman from the original series is sick, dying of cancer or something, not going to be seen, and then he has a son who's out fishing. That's what I took it as, because obviously I knew from our previous episode that he doesn't return. So that's what I kind of took it as. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I'll find out. But
I'll tell you that you're not far off the mark.
So maybe they do some investigating with this other thing. I don't know. That's kind of how I think it ties together. But I know from past experiences that one should never really fucking
never infer too much
yeah.
from what you see. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, we're not going to do our usual recap of the creative team because it is completely unchanged from episode to episode here. This is pretty much an 18-hour movie. That's how it was approached in filming, in pre-production and post-production. Aside from whatever edits they make to chop it up into episodes. So that's really the way I recommend everyone think of it. Like, this isn't television. This is a film that just happened to be broadcast over a televised medium in several episodes.
Was this released weekly?
Yes. I think there were, a couple of gaps here and there preempted for some event or another, holiday weekends and the like. The first 2 episodes aired together as like an unbroken episode.
Okay.
And it like watching it back, it feels like I should have watched it that way.
Gotcha.
And the DVD offers that option. Yeah, the way it ends here feels very abrupt and like not the way I remember it. I remember there being a lot more for me to sink my teeth into
really?
as like
I feel like it's a good
what's new and what's going on.
I mean, it feels like there's a piece of human in this trunk and dun dun dun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like gypped from it.
But in this very first hour, we don't get much from the old cast.
Oh, 100%.
So,
what was your initial take of it when you first watched it back in the day? Do you remember?
I was fascinated. I was intrigued. It was the same general reaction. Like I would say, like liking it isn't necessarily the right term because it's puzzling to me. It's baffling at times, but like it makes me want to go back and dig into the details to try and understand more. It makes me want to study it to see like what kind of clues are left behind. And I know for a fact that there aren't always clues left behind. That a lot of the fun that Lynch has with this sort of stuff is seeing what people read into it and seeing what their take on his art is. So I know that's his intention, is he doesn't give you the conclusions. He doesn't wrap up all the answers for you because he wants to know what you think. And that's his idea of art, is it's all interpretive. Like the way he puts stuff out, it's like a painting, like an abstract painting. It's not like a still life, or it's not like a landscape where everybody looks at that and goes, "Oh, that's a sunset." It's one of those like just masses of color and shape that doesn't necessarily have the coherence that normal people would get a visual image from. But like, okay, look at this and tell me what you see. It's like cloud watching, It's like, or a Rorschach blot. He throws this imagery, this mood, this feeling into a medium that he knows how to work with. And he's like, you take it from here. And a lot more people have done that with Twin Peaks than with the rest of his art, because Twin Peaks got spread to a wider audience who normally wouldn't like go to some art house film theater to see like Eraserhead or Blue Velvet or something else that he had done that would be too arty farty for a lot of that audience. You know what I mean?
So, do you think this is his greatest piece of work?
That's subjective.
Yeah, but I'm asking
I
for your,
think
your subjective opinion.
I think it's my favorite, yes. And I think that it's his most relatable. It's the one that's easiest for the common person to identify with.
Interesting. All right.
And that's because of the original series, because it was toned down for marketability, but that had the side effect of like seeding an entire generation of teenagers with this subversive counterculture idea that they dove into, and then some of them brought into their own work some many years later.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll see how it ends.
That's that's a bit of a rant there, but yeah, I mean, I really think that's the approach. Is like it's not, you know, it's not a frame by frame representation of life. It's an abstract. It's more like memory or dream, and that's what I've always loved about it. Is that it feels like a dream. Like dreams don't make sense. Dreams aren't coherent. They're very stream of consciousness. I mean, they flow together in a way that makes sense at the time, but then like after it happens, you go back and you're like, wait a minute, is that how he made this transition? And a lot of Lynch's work is like that. It's very, very dreamlike, and that's what makes it enjoyable to me.
All right. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean,
Yeah.
I like a lot of his movies. This I just don't really care for so far. I don't know. That's all.
Well, yeah. There's an argument to be made that it's very self-indulgent, but we'll let the audience be the judge.
We are the audience, Gabe.
We're not the only audience, Ian. Everybody else gets to have an opinion too. So we
Not
do
on
have
this,
a little.
Not on this fucking podcast. They do.
Not on the microphone. I have a microphone and you don't. So you will listen to every goddamn word I have to say.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Anyway.
Wedding Singer is my favorite Adam Sandler movie, everybody.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Waterboy is a close second.
Haven't seen either. All right.
What?
Yeah, I fucking hate Adam Sandler, dude.
All right. I'm not going to try and force you onto that one. There's no point.
There isn't.
No, it'd be like me trying to get you to watch a Monty Python movie.
I've seen Holy Grail. That's about it, though. I've seen Holy Grail. That's about it.
Did you enjoy it?
I mean, it's fine. I mean, all my friends were really into Monty Python. I never.
That's not a yes.
It's fine. I mean, I get some of the jokes. You know, I remember borrowing the Monty Python CDs and listening to the like Cheese Shop skit, and I mean, I couldn't tell you it now, but I remember doing my homework back then, listening. I mean, Adam Sandler.
You're not one of those people who's completely anti-British humor.
Oh no, I loved Red Dwarf, dude.
Okay,
dude. No, yeah, we used to watch those on VHS constantly. That was more that whole reverse episode. That's classic, dude. Anyway,
I've never done Red Dwarf, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, see, we're just different speeds, man. That's all. Just different speeds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just got to shift that gear every once in a while. So disc 1 here, or I think it's disc 11 on the box set I'm working on. I'm not sure. I'd have to go. Yeah, pretty sure it's disc 11. Maybe disc 12. But anyway, there's a little bit of supplemental material here, most of which is like the little minute-long teasers that Showtime aired to promote the series ahead of its premiere. all of which were directed by Lynch himself. Like he assembled these teasers. He did the editing and did it on his own time. A lot of it, the noise behind it is just buzzing and clacking as the scenes fade in and out. Nothing really special of note. A lot of focus on Tracy, oddly enough, considering she only lasts a half hour.
Poor Tracy.
Poor Tracy. But anyway, there's also about 15 minutes worth of some extended preview stuff, like these 5-minute episodes that, like, Showtime would air between movie and the next airing, the episode block. These were referred to as Twin Peaks Phenomenon. So the first episode is about the past, the second episode is about the legacy, and the third episode is about the work on the future. Each of them is, roughly 5 minutes long. But there are a couple of notes that we hadn't covered, which kind of surprised me here. One name that comes up at the very beginning of these is Gary Levine, who's giving an interview. He is the president of Showtime as this revival is airing. And as it so happens, he was also the vice president of ABC Drama Development from 1988 to 1992. So he is also responsible for the original Twin Peaks airing.
Champion.
This is something I did not realize. I didn't know that we had this link from a corporate side between the two versions of Twin Peaks. So that makes a lot of sense. Gary Levine was obviously a fan of the show. And obviously instrumental in us getting this revival.
Or he was a part of the show and was okay with killing it, but then over the years saw the cult following and saw like there's still money to be made here. There's always two sides to that corporate entity, Gabe. You got to be careful.
Fair enough. Although maybe he left in 92, so maybe that was because he was mad that Twin Peaks got canceled.
We can always hope for the good side. We can always hope that he was the champion. Right? Yes.
Oh shit! I have forgotten to write this guy's first name down. Hollander is the last name, but he is the EP/showrunner for Ray Donovan. He's one of the talking heads at the interview for this documentary as to, Ray Donovan being a Showtime show, no surprise there. But he's one of the people they bring in to extol the virtues of the original series and how important it was in shaping modern television. Another person they bring in for brief little snippets is Damon Lindelof of Lost fame, who credits Twin Peaks for inspiring him to get into television. And basically, he wouldn't have a career if it weren't for Twin Peaks.
Didn't he also write Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine?
He may have. I didn't know he wrote comics as well.
He did some comic work, I'm pretty sure.
Hey, good on him. He does talk about how he and JJ, when they were promoting Lost, talked about how they would be lucky if it was received similarly to Twin Peaks. Like in the aspect that not that it was a full-on cultural phenomenon and not just, a well-received television series, but something that became the talk of America.
Yeah.
And to their credit, I think they succeeded in that regard.
For some people,
even if they fucked up the landing like everybody else did. But, I never got into it, so I can't invest too much.
I only watched the first season, which I enjoyed, but into the second season, I just lost interest and never returned.
Yeah, I lost interest after like 3 episodes. So, but that's just me. We also do get a few snippets from our pal Liz Linka Glatter, who talks about the importance of, again, all of this is just, fellatio.
Sucking on that Lynch cock.
Pretty much. There is some discussion that we hadn't touched on yet about like the so-called Hendrix effect, which is not the name they refer to it by, but the notion that it was very short-lived and burned very brightly during its lifespan kind of adds to its legend status.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I definitely knew about it, and there were definitely people talking about it. Yeah.
Right. So it was, yeah, better to burn out than to fade away. But yeah, it left a flash burn on people's memories and left a longevity. So yeah, there was a lot of that wasn't discussed in previous documentaries that we had talked about, how that might be a factor. There's some exploration of the tremendous amount of art that comes from the fandom. Uh, painting, comics, fanfic, and then even a burlesque show, which they're kind enough to show some footage of. We get a few seconds of a very sexy log lady.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll let your imagination run wild with that one, you pervert.
Revealed to be what's his name?
Wyndham Earl.
Wyndham Earl.
Yeah. Pickle surprise.
Ruh-roh.
Uh, there is a good segment on the excitement of the fandom at the announcement of the return. Uh, yeah, they touch base on how Lynch and Frost simultaneously tweeted out that Gun You Like is going to come back in style,
Mm.
and all of these people, their social media feeds just fucking exploded, and they had to take the day off of work to go start planning all these special events for the next convention, and it's fun to see, like, even after the fact, the excitement that these people had for, like, it. I was excited too, but like not to the level that these people were, and it's heartwarming to see for me. So I
I
thought it
missed
was
a
pretty cool.
comment in the oops.
In our live feed? Oh,
It was a while ago. It was way back. It's just like it was hiding under this other text box that I didn't even notice. From Mama Forever, which I'm guessing maybe is the other. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe not. But she wrote Ashley Judd is 56. So there you go.
okay.
Sorry, I
So at
missed
time
that.
of filming, somewhat younger than that, but
Sorry, I missed that.
yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know
very,
before.
very
That was
long
a long time
ago.
ago.
Hopefully,
I
you're
was at
still watching and
that
you
was
didn't take offense.
8:30. I apologize. Yes,
Oh my
that
goodness,
was an
that was an
hour
hour
ago.
ago.
Apologize.
You got to set up some notifications there, brother.
I was just come on. We were talking. I can only do so much.
Right. Um, in this documentary, they do show a little bit of behind the scenes stuff on the filming of the return. They talk to Kyle, of course. They talk to Kimmy. They talk to Harry Goaz, who plays Andy, and we also see a little bit of info with Dana Ashbrook, who plays Bobby. They all express their excitement at coming back. Dana, in particular, refers to the old band getting back together. And Kimmy talks about her role as being able to slip into a 25-year-old glove.
Hmm.
So I think the cast and crew was just as excited about coming back as the fandom was. I mean, when we went into those episodes with the cast, a lot of them talked about how great of an experience they had on it and how much fun it was working on it. So stands to reason that they would enjoy the idea of coming back for more. There were a couple of really fun quotes from David Lynch in the snippets where he showed up. They just like they cut to him for some one-liners was basically it. Like I said, this was maybe 15 minutes worth of material. But one quote that I loved was, "Anyone who creates is a friend of mine."
Hmm.
So you're his buddy, Ian.
Well,
Don't be mean to your buddies.
you're his buddy now too because you're creating. So
I am. I'm coming back to creating after a long layoff, so I have you to thank for that.
yeah, blank as a fart. Joint
Blank as a
venture.
fart, baby. And then this was his specific advice for watching The Return,
Hmm.
how you should approach the series. Keep your eye on the donut, not on the hole.
Hmm. Well, there's a lot of holes in this one. This first
There's a
episode.
lot of holes.
Not like like figurative holes. I mean like literally. There's a lot of holes in this one. Anyway.
I prefer to think of them as gaps that may or may not be filled.
Hmm. I mean, some were filled in this episode, and some had stuff coming, and some had stuff coming out of them.
I don't know that it was filled.
I mean, two.
I don't think he got that opportunity before he was interrupted.
Well, no, but I mean, like literally, that hole got filled, like with the dark evil thing.
Oh, that hole.
Yeah, I know you're going with the other one. Yes, I was pointing that direction, but yes, that didn't. But that anyway, and then the Victrola, that's like shooting stuff out. That hole's dark and shooting noises out.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Anyway, and then there's like the hole in that lady's head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this episode.
A lot of holes. It's a recurring theme.
Hopefully there's less plot holes, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, you got to have a plot for it to have holes.
Oh! Quote of the series. Anyway. All right.
Anyway.
Something else? We got anything else?
Not specifically series related, other than it's beneficial to pay attention to the credits. So you'll note that like a lot of characters don't get named during the course of the episode, but they do receive a character name at the end.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I would advise you to keep track of the credits.
All right.
While you're watching. It may give you some information that you feel like you're lacking from earlier in the episode.
Sounds good.
So, not that there's like post-credit scenes or anything, but like it can help you determine who the fuck is that and why should I care?
I mean, I guess I'll find out.
Because the dialogue isn't always going to do that for you right away.
I guess I'm going to find out with the next episode, but like, does every episode start differently? Or do they have a like the old series?
There's a routine opening credits sequence.
Okay.
With the theme and all. So
cool.
But yeah, there are different, like the credits roll over different scenes. The majority of episodes roll over musical performance in the Roadhouse at the end.
Oh, okay.
But not all of them.
And that's probably once we get introduced to that, right?
What's that?
We haven't been introduced to that yet. The Roadhouse.
Oh, to the setting of the Roadhouse, yes. Yeah, it would be weird for...
Just all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah, that would kind of come out of nowhere in this first hour here, wouldn't it? But at the end of hour 2, it makes sense.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, from my end, that's all I've got, aside from one quick shout out to friend of the show, Domer. Once again, we want to thank you for providing the theme of our series. The name of that song is Big Old Dead. It's from the self-titled album Domer, and you can find that album on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to stream music. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a great album.
Indeed.
Have we flashed the email yet?
There it is.
The email that I never check. blankasafartpod@gmail.com. We're back to posting on Instagram and Facebook now that we've got new episodes to brag about. Woohoo! And despite Ian's trepidations, we're going to continue to broadcast live every Wednesday except next Wednesday, which we're going to have to take off for personal reasons. So,
yeah, I mean, Mama Forever saved it. She came in, made a comment. Obviously, we got to keep streaming because people are obviously watching. So,
they are.
I guess I got to keep doing it.
Yeah, Mama Forever, thanks for convincing my partner here that live streaming is worth it, that people are paying attention to us.
More people pay attention to us and rewatching, but yes.
Yeah. And that, of course, Ashley Judd is universally beloved and looks great for her age. So. All
right. That's it.
So, yeah, that's all we've got. 2 weeks from now, we will be visiting. We're not going to call them episodes from that perspective. We're going to call it part 2 of The Return.
Are they do they have names, though?
No. Well, they're all called Part 1, blah, blah,
Part 2.
blah, and then they each have a quote
Oh,
associated with them.
gotcha.
And like it follows to IMDb. Like the summary of each episode is just that quote.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So, yeah, we'll be associating part number and quote, which they each have. So,
All right. Sounds good. I'm excited.
yeah, me too. Looking forward to it. So until the last Wednesday in January. No. Will we be in February by the time we have a next episode? Look at a calendar.
I'm looking. It'll be January 29th.
Okay. So yeah, January 29th, that's a Wednesday, 8 p.m. We'll be doing our next episode live here on YouTube on the Milkman Pictures channel. Blank as a Fart, part 2 of The Return. Thanks everyone for joining us. Love you, Ian.
Love you.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks again, everyone. So long.
Bye.
Let a smile be your umbrella.
And we are done.